It's officially the 90-day mark. In less than 3 months, you are the ultimate jury, and you will make the most consequential decision in our lifetime, especially for our kids and grandkids. America, the world is literally on the brink. Freedom, liberty, capitalism versus radical status, liberty-crushing socialism. That's what happens in 90 days. Do you want Joe Biden, well, the ever-confused one, Bolshevik Bernie, AOC, Bozo, Schumer, Pelosi running the country? Well, I do not. Ronald Reagan warned that this nation, he warned us all, freedom is but one generation away from extinction. Well, we owe it to our kids and grandkids to not be that generation that lets it become extinct. And earlier today, Biden had yet, well, another complete public meltdown while trying to just answer a simple question about his cognitive abilities that he brags so much about, passing the test, and I take them all the time. That full tape is coming up, and we'll ask important questions about his fitness for office that the media mob, they talk about privately, Democrats talk about privately, but never publicly. Also, major breaking news out of the swamp. Sally Yates was just grilled by the Senate Judiciary Committee, where she accused Mr. Higher Honor himself of going rogue and was forced to admit that the FISA applications that she signed, the ones that say verified, were fraudulent. And by the way, knowing what she now knows, she never would have signed them. Senator Lindsey Graham with that update. Also tonight, panic has set in among Democrats and the media mob. We're going to analyze the latest insane conspiracy theories, all straight ahead. First, we must ask the obvious question. The media mob, the Democrats, they're avoiding it like the plague. Now, I know for a fact, privately, they're scared to death about this. What is wrong with Joe Biden? What is going on with Joe Biden? The question is this. Does this 77-year-old man really have the stamina, the strength, the mental acuity, mental alertness to serve in the toughest, most demanding job on earth? Now, in 1984, well, similar questions were posed to 73-year-old President Ronald Reagan. That was during his re-election campaign. And here's how Reagan famously responded.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
That race ended right there. 49-state sweep by Ronald Reagan. We saw a much different response from Joe Biden. Here's his response. Well, again, we see it often, completely incoherent. It's actually a little hard to watch. Actually, like barking at a reporter. It's not the first time he's done this. He loses his train of thought. He became totally, completely, utterly confused. Again, fairly common occurrence with Joe. Take a look.
But please clarify specifically, have you taken a cognitive test?
No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying before you got in this program, if you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say to President Trump, who brags about his test and makes your mental state an issue for voters?
Well, if he can't figure out the difference between an elephant and a lion, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Did you watch that? Look, come on, man. I know you're trying to goad me, but, I mean, I'm so forward-looking to have an opportunity to sit with the president or stand with the president in debates. There's going to be plenty of time. And by the way, as I joke with him, I shouldn't say it. I'm going to say something I probably shouldn't say. Anyway, I am very willing to let the American public judge my physical and mental as well as my mental fitness, and to make a judgment about who I am.
Okay. Come on, man. A cocaine test? Are you a junkie? An elephant and a lion? What did we just watch? This is just simply not normal or appropriate behavior. And apparently Biden even forgot that just a few weeks ago, remember, he was actually telling reporters and the American people that he was constantly tested for cognitive decline. Occasionally, Well, of course, we'll admit, everyone gets words mixed up here, there, but this is now a daily occurrence for Joe Biden. And Joe Biden, this is serious, as confused as he is, he's running for the most important, the hardest, the toughest, the most difficult job in the free world. He wants to be President of the United States of America, our commander-in-chief. If he's ever elected, his finger will be on that nuclear button. So obviously, mental acuity, alertness is very important, and yet Biden seems to struggle even too numerous times to list on this show. You think I'm overstating the fact? We'll let you decide tonight. Take a look.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Why in God's name should someone who's clipping coupons in the stock market in fact, pay a lower tax rate than someone who, in fact, is, like I said, a school teacher and a firefighter? Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday, and I want to thank you all. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created you know the thing.
Joe, endowed by the creator of everything. It's in the Declaration of Independence. And it was, by the way, it was Super Tuesday, not Super Thursday. Clipping coupons in the stock market. What does that even mean? And the confusion doesn't stop there. And I'm going to tell you, even what we're going to show you tonight is just a small sampling. We could go on for the whole hour. Take a look.
Donald Trump does pose an extra threat to this. It's not hypothetical. I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts. All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right. It's Chris, but anyway.
Chris. I just did Chris. Yeah. My son, my deceased son, was the Attorney General of the United States, and before that, he was a federal prosecutor in one of the largest offices in the country, in Philadelphia.
Little fact check, Joe's son was never the Attorney General of the United States. What is he talking about? Sadly, just the tip of the iceberg. Here are more deeply troubling examples. Take a look.
If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330. We choose truth over facts. Play the radio. Make sure make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone. Make sure the kids hear words. 150 million people have been killed since 2007 when Bernie voted to exempt the gun manufacturers from liability. More than all the wars, including Vietnam, from that point on. Carnage on our street.
Truth over facts. 150 million people killed from gun violence. That would be almost half the country. Tonight, it's not just the confusion, the forgetfulness, the gaffes that you should worry about. It's also his very strange associated fits of rage. He just screamed at that CBS News reporter, asked him if he was a junkie and needed a cocaine test. And this wasn't the first time that Joe imploded in front of a camera. Take a look.
She referenced me. I agreed with the great job she did. And I went on the floor and got you votes. I got votes for that bill. I convinced people to vote for it. So let's get those things straight, too. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. You said I set up my son to work in an oil company. Isn't that what you said? Get your words straight, Jack. And you want to check my shape on? Let's do push-ups together here, man. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do. Let's take the 19 steps.
These are the types of things Terry McAuliffe was referring to when he said, I'm perfectly fine if Joe Biden stays in his basement bunker until Election Day. He only sees 2 people a day. All right, let's state some facts. Joe Biden loses his trend of thought often. He mixes numbers up often. He struggles to remember certain words. At times, he doesn't even know what day of the week it is, what state he's in, and what office he's even running for. He's experiencing frequent bouts of irritability, anger, confusion. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what's going on with Biden, but it's obvious that something is off. Very off. And even though he barely leaves his basement bunker, he looks exhausted. Kind of looks like he needs a hot cocoa and a little nappy every day. Now, given what we see, wouldn't it be a good idea for him to take that cognitive test? By the way, AA comprehensive physical exams, share the results with the American people. President Trump has already done that and more. It's an honest question at this point, and before early voting starts, we, the American people, deserve an answer. Recently, the president encouraged Biden to take the test when he sat down with an interview with Dr. Siegel from a medical aid team. Take a look.
Joe should take that test because something's going on. And I say this with respect. I mean, it's going to probably happen to all of us, right? You know, it's going to happen. We have to have somebody that's sharp. If this person isn't sharp, because I can tell you, President Xi is sharp. President Putin is sharp. Erdogan is sharp. You don't have any non-sharp people that you're dealing with, and we can't have somebody that's not 100%.